Hi, today we're going to multiply powers that have the same base. So let's take a look at this. I don't know why I went on my pen already. It's a little premature in that. So think about what we already know. We know 3 to the 5th power. With 3 as a base, my exponent's 5. That just means I'm going to multiply 3 by itself 5 times. So it's a short way of writing 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. Well, let's practice multiplying some powers with the same base. 4 to the 2nd power is the same as 4 times 4. 4 to the 3rd power is 4 times 4 times 4. And if I multiply those together, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 to the 5th power. Let's look at another example. I have x to the 3rd power times x to the 5th power. X to the 3rd power is x times x times x. X to the 5th power is x times x times x times x times x. If I multiply those together, we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. X to the 8th power. And look at another example. 3 to the 4th power times 3 to the 6th power. That is just 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. So there's my 3 to the 4th power, and I'm multiplying that by 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. See how long this gets? That's why we use exponents. They get very long. One more. So I'm multiplying all these 3's by all of these 3's, and I end up with a total of 10 3's. 3 to the 10th power. So hopefully by now you're noticing that when we multiply powers that have the same base, all I have to do is add my exponents. Well, what if I have a negative exponent? I can still add them. 6 to the 8th power times 6 to the negative 10 power. That is the same as 6 to the 8 plus negative 10, or negative 2. Well, we know from lesson 7.1 that when I have a negative exponent, I'm going to move that downstairs. So this will be same as 1 over 6 to the 2nd power, which is 1 over 36. But I can just leave it as 1 over 6 to the 2nd power for now. Okay, let's simplify this one. First of all, I can multiply my digits. Negative 7 times negative 2 is positive 14. Those are not negative exponents, remember. Then I have x to the 4th power, x to the 3rd power. I can add those. 4 plus 3, x to the 7th power. Y to the 2nd power, y to the, no exponent here. Remember, that's an invisible 1. 2 plus 1 is 3, so that would be y to the 3rd power. Let's try another one. First, let's multiply my numbers. I have 9 times 4. That's 36. Then I have a z. 5 plus negative 12 is negative 7. Well, let's simplify that. I have a negative exponent, so let's move it downstairs. So I end up with 36, because it's only my z that's raised to the negative power, times z to the 7th power. It's 36 over z to the 7th power. Let's find the area of the square. Well, how do we find the area of a square? Well, it's length times width because it is a square. And if it is a square, my lengths are all the same size. So this, I don't know why we're using so many z's, since my z's tend to look like 2's. Multiplying numbers, 3 times 3 is 9. Z to the 4th power times z to the 4th power is z to the 4 plus 4, which is 8. Z to the 8th power. Okay, how about volume? Well, volume, if you recall, we multiply all of our length times width times height. So here I have 2 times 5, that's 10, times 3 is 30. Then I have my x's, and I have 1 here, invisible 1, plus 4 is 5, 6, 7, 8. So I have x to the 8th power. Then my y, I have 4, 8, and 1 more, 9. Y to the 9th power. That would be the volume of this rectangular prism. Okay, let's simplify this. We got all sorts of things going on. Let's start with my numbers. I have negative 4 times 2 times 5. Well, 2 times 5 is 10 times negative 4 is negative 40. Remember, that's just a negative number. It's not an exponent. Excuse me. Negative 40. Well, let's look at my x's. I have x to the 3rd power and x to the negative 8 power. 3 plus negative 8 will give me x to the negative 5. And next I have y to the negative 2 and y to the 5, or 5th power. Negative 2 plus 5 is 3, so y to the 3rd power. I'm almost done. But I see I have this negative exponent. It's going to come downstairs. That will leave me with negative 40. My 40 doesn't go downstairs. It's not a negative exponent. It's just a negative number. Y to the 3rd power, still upstairs. And my x will move downstairs, and my negative 5 will become positive. So y to the 5th in the denominator. Next example. Look at my coefficients. First I have 12. I have a negative 1 here. So 12 times negative 1 is negative 12. Times 2 is negative 24. I have m to the 1st power, m to the 3rd power, and m again to the 1st power. So 1 plus 3 plus 1 is 5. So m to the 5th power. I have n to the 1st power, n to the negative 2 power, and I don't have any n's here. So 1 and negative 2 will give me n to the negative 1 power. And lastly, I have my p to the 5th power. Guess I already used purple, but that's okay. Now, the only thing I have left to do is I got to move that n downstairs because it's a negative exponent. So I'm going to be left with negative 24 m to the 5th power. I guess I'll leave my p purple since it was purple before. P to the 5th power. And then in my denominator, I will have n to the 1st power, which I can just write as n. Okay, I have a whole bunch going on here, and I'm also going to evaluate. So I'm going to be plugging in -1 for C and -2 for D. But I don't want to do that until I've simplified it first. So let's start with simplifying it. I have -2 times 5. That is -10. I have C to the -4th power, C to the 2nd power, -4 plus 2 is -2. So C to the -2. Then I have D to the -1 and D to the -3. -1 plus -3 is -4. Let's do some moving. My C and my D both need to go downstairs. That will leave me with -10 in the numerator. C to the 2nd power. And then D to the 4th power in my denominator. Now let's plug in our numbers. For C, I'm going to plug in -1. To the 2nd power. And then for my D, I'm going to plug in -2. And that will be to the 4th power. My numerator will still be -10. -1 to the 2nd power, -1 times -1 is +1. -2 to the 4th power, -2 times -2 times -2 times -2 is +16. So I will be left with -10 on top, and 1 times 16 is just 16 on bottom. And lastly, I can simplify. I can divide them both by 2, and I will have -5/8. So this big, long mess I have here is just -5/8. So just to summarize, when you multiply powers with the same base, a to the mth power times a to the nth power, you just add your exponents, a to the m plus nth power. So multiply your powers, add the exponents. That's it. Have a great day.